Hello and welcome to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you live your best life. Well, it's so exciting to head into a new year. A new year is all about transformation, new opportunities, and a brand new you. I hope you're excited about a new year. I know a lot of people are resistant to change, and people just don't love change. But to me, I think it's such a wonderful opportunity, and I hope that you feel the same, that you can create a life that truly feels authentic to you. So how about we say hello and welcome to our guest today, who is a transformation coach. So she's helping us to live our best lives by tapping into our inner power, raising our vibration, and fostering, a better way of moving forward. So let's say hello and welcome to Elena Donskaya. What a pleasure to have you on the show today, Elena.
Thank you so much for having me and Happy New Year. I'm excited to be here.
Happy New Year. Yes, it's so exciting. I cannot wait to just delve into this new year and to delve into this conversation because it is a real symbol of transformation. And, so much growth happens in transformation. If I look back on my life, and I know everyone can relate to this, is that through our greatest times of challenge and change is when we've really learned a lot about ourselves and about life and has fostered us in a way that we can, bring out our best selves. And that change can be difficult, it can be scary, but it is so beautiful once we sort of get through to the other side, that metamorphosis, so to speak. So it's really a great time to have this conversation. Elena, I know that for you as well, you've had your challenges and you've had your spiritual awakening. So I'd love to talk about your story, your personal experience in the change in your life that has inspired you to start, helping others to transform and foster that spiritual awakening.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. Yeah, I'm excited to share my journey and my alchemy and how I got to do what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would be interesting to start with a pivotal moment in my life, the transformational moment in my life, even though I had so many since my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
but not going back to those days yet. But if I were to start, I probably would start with um, just sharing with the audience that I used to, before I become a transformation coach, I had a corporate career. I work on Wall Street. I live in New York City. I have degrees in business and marketing and MBA, and I worked in corporate finance and investment banking for many, many years. And in the beginning, it was exciting. I was a driven, ambitious woman.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, I realized that I'm maybe climbing a wrong ladder, that I'm not no longer fulfilled, that it's not just the money, it's not just the drive, there's something else that I'm missing. And I had this like nagging feeling all the time that I'm missing something, I'm meant to do something else. I was asking these big questions. I was always a seeker. I was asking big questions. Who am I? What am I meant to do? What's my purpose? What's going on? And especially in the past decade, and especially past few years, we could see there's so much change happening on the planet. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
going through this huge paradigm shift. And I believe that we as a humanity, we as a species, as a collective, we're going through such a huge transformation. And whether we want it or not, it's happening to all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and it's better to actually hear these whispers right now, the whispers of our soul, and go into it ourselves, go into it with eager to learn, to realize who we really are, to maybe do some identity shifting, do some deep healing work. So for me, it was I was on Wall Street, and we had one pivotal event that really happened in my life where we had Deepak Chopra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of you know this renowned spiritual teacher and author. He came to my corporate job and he was sharing with an audience, with the ambitious drivers, like the ambitious people of Wall Street, of what it means to be an enlightened leader, what it means to really authentically lead and be you, the real you. And as I was listening to him, like I was having these aha moment after aha moment that, oh my God, like it really speaks to my soul. And at the end of the presentation, he had a meditation with the audience, sitting shoulder to shoulder with like 200 people. I meditated for the first time in my life.
Hmm.
And I felt this kind of like out of body experience that I felt, oh my God, like I'm feeling peace, I'm feeling bliss, what's going on? And I really wanted to, when I came home that night, I told my husband, like, something happened to me today. I don't think I'll ever be the same.
Hmm.
And I didn't want this to be one spontaneous event. Like, I really wanted to feel this every day, to wake up in the morning and feel that I'm fulfilled, that I'm doing something that I love, that I'm loving myself, I'm not self-sabotaging myself. I wasn't even thinking about impacting others or changing others. I was only thinking about me, like, what am I, how can I change the state of mind for myself to feel fulfilled and feel happy and satisfied, and don't look for validation elsewhere, and be me. So that was my driver. And of course, when you go on this journey yourself, when you dedicate your life to this inner deep human work, one day you realize that it's not just for you. Like, you meant to share this with others, you meant to help others. And that's how I became a coach. And I'm, so honored and excited to be doing this work every day.
Oh, I love it. And, such a great story. And it's so interesting because it is in those moments that happen sort of spontaneously, that aha moment that just, hits you in such a way that it inspires that next evolution of your best self. And it was interesting that you said you wanted to feel that experience, not just in this one moment, but to carry that forward. And
Yeah.
that feeling is so important. And I think once we get to that point where we can feel that shift and that change, and it just feels so good. You want more of that. And there's so many people, I think, Elena, right now, who can relate to that story, who are in a job that they don't necessarily love. We just go through the motions of life, many times and, for many years, sometimes decades. And we don't necessarily love, the things that we do. We get stuck in a pattern, in a routine, and it takes us on a different course. But when we can, course correct, get back into that soul alignment and start to feel, what feels better and what feels good, we can continue to take those smaller steps towards what it is that we ultimately would love to have. And sometimes we don't even know what that is, but I feel that having that inner knowing and that inner feeling is so important that we tap into that. You talked about those whispers, when we listen to those whispers, and the reality is that many of us at different times in our lives have tuned out of the body and to those whispers and to those nudges, and then that just creates another sort of a wall into moving forward and keeps us stuck. So I'd love to delve into a little bit more of some of the epiphanies that you had in, sort of kind of removing that veil, removing the wall to now see a little bit clearer. And that may have started in that, meditation session with Deepak Chopra.
Yeah, yeah, great question. There is this saying, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. I
Mm-hmm.
really, really believe in that saying, because when I was ripe and I was ready for this work, the teachers really started to show up in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I paid attention. Like, I had books dropping off the shelves in Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, yeah.
I had all of a sudden reading some posts on Facebook that I came across some teachers. I started to follow step by step. And synchronicities, amazing synchronicities started to happen in my life. And I was just eager. I was open. I wanted to learn. I wanted to really invest in myself, because this work, yeah, you can do it in solo. You can follow your own soul. You ultimately have all the knowledge and wisdom within yourself. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
nobody that can really show you outside of yourself. You really have that within yourself. But early on, because we're so conditioned and we're so much listening to our ego mind, we don't really hear our soul. And in the beginning of my journey, and that's why I became a coach for people who are still in this, like, they can't figure out what it is, like, they can't really hear that their soul alignment. I really, like, for me, what worked is that I started to work with spiritual teachers. I started to
Mm-hmm.
work with coaches. I started to go and travel to sacred sites and go on retreats. And I started to invest time in books and listening to podcasts, and just really spending a lot of time contemplating, journaling, contemplating, sitting with myself in solitude. And it wasn't easy. Like, I live a very human life. I live in New York City. I
Mm-hmm.
have two children. I took subway to work, and I worked 10 to 12 hours a day. You know what I mean? It's not that I was sitting by myself and I had all this spare time in the world. No.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow this became important. And when this became important, everything else aligns. Like the time that I needed to work with my mentor and spiritual teacher every Saturday, my husband took kids to a playground. You know what I mean? Like when I needed to travel somewhere, my mom helped me, take care of my kids for a week. So I really, it's just like when you say yes to this work, like I kid you not, like all of a sudden everything aligns. The money shows up, the time shows up, all the resources just aligns for you to follow step by step by step. And that's what I did. That's what I did. And that's what I recommend to everyone because it's not easy to come out of that golden cage of corporate job and securities of getting paycheck every 2 weeks, right? And all of that. But at some point you realize that the worth is the self-love and self-worth that you have within yourself is beyond any of that, and really you got to follow your soul nudges and you have to follow that voice inside. So that's what I did.
I love that. Yeah, following the voice inside, is so key. We do have that inner wisdom, but oftentimes the outside chaos blocks that inner wisdom, and it's just a matter of peeling back the layers, and for all the listeners out there right now, I don't want to overwhelm anybody, right? Because you're listening and thinking, oh my gosh, this is hard work. I don't want to do this. And again, it's that resistance. It's the ego stepping in the way and preventing that freedom for you. But I want you to just remember that you can start small. Take those small steps. You don't have to completely reinvent your entire life. But by taking action and that one small step, you will be amazed at the synchronicities that will follow and the guidance that will come from taking action. Again, remember that the universe rewards action. When we take action, things start to move in our life. We have momentum and we can get out of the stagnation and sort of that the limiting beliefs that hold us back. We can start to become aware of them, and then once we become aware of them, that's when life really changes. For you to live your best life, we need to let go of the things that no longer serve us and move towards what feels good, and reach that higher vibration and feel the resonance, so that life can really unfold authentically and evolve over time. So, this is a brand new year. It's an opportunity for you to live your best life, to step up and move into change. And again, we know that it's not that the easiest thing for many is that change, but it's such a blessing when you can live a life where when you wake up and you feel excited to start the day instead of feeling overwhelmed and exhausted and think, oh, I got to do this again, and hitting the snooze button. Imagine, I want you to imagine right now, what does it feel like? What would it feel like if you were to wake up excited, bright-eyed, jumping out of bed and ready to bring in that new year on, an excellent foot? Well, keep that feeling alive. Elena, you talked about, having that feeling and wanting that feeling to last a long time. If you can let us know some of the things that you did to sort of, ensure that feeling was dominant throughout your day.
Yeah, that's a great question because I agree with you. Like we so don't want to have a change in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are, humans are habitual beings. Like we get to spend our days the way we've always did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think putting those additional, like little changes into your day, and you said it right, like we are co-creating with the universe, God, however you want to call it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's two-step process, right? Like God meets us halfway. So when we decide that, okay, maybe there's little changes I can do, and I really love the time before I fall asleep and right when I
Mm-hmm.
wake up. Like how it's very important to reprogram the subconscious mind. And when that state of hypnagogic state, right before
Mm-hmm.
we fall asleep or right when we wake up, it's a very beautiful, beautiful time to reprogram yourself and set yourself into either a good night's sleep or a good day ahead of you. So during those times, 15 minutes before bed or 15 minutes when I wake up, I love to listen to sound healing music, to visualize my day, to do affirmations. I really love that time. Like it's a sacred time for me. And I have my life is a proof of that. And so many of my clients that I work with, they all said like when they change, just those 15 minutes, and anybody can implement them. Like you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to change your whole life. If you can implement your morning and night routine, and again, it doesn't have to be that complicated. It doesn't have to be like do what you can. But when you change those two states of during the day, your life start transforming. You really start feeling good about yourself, and you get a good night's sleep. And I started to lucid dream, and I started getting answers in my dreams. Like it's
Mm.
been a very interesting, evolving story in the life. And I don't know how you people can get you excited about this, because you really start feeling good about you, and you doing this healing, like your whole life changes, and your family responds differently to you, and your coworkers and people on the street and strangers. Like everywhere you go, you just start shining and emitting this high vibe, and people feel it, and you start magnetizing greater things into your life. So what not to love? So
Yes. Yeah,
I love.
absolutely, absolutely. And also I think that our tolerance, is much greater, right? When we're operating from that state, the things that used to bother us no longer bother us. We can sort of let that sort of drop away. Because oftentimes people are pushing our triggers, or we believe that they're pushing our triggers, but it really is what's going on inside of us that is creating that reality. So when we can now become aware of that and choose a different way, and to really sort of tap into the inner vibration of what feels good, we really can truly transform our lives. Well, this is a brand new year, and this is an opportunity for you right now to transform your life for the greater good. So stay with us. We're going to continue the conversation here with my special guest, Elena Donskaya. She is a transformation coach who bridges the gap between spirituality and personal development and helps us to raise our vibration and tap into our inner power. Well, more of our inner power when we come back after this. Stay tuned. And welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. I'm Tania Kolar, helping you cultivate your best life. Now, I want you to remember that your mindset is like a muscle that needs to be strengthened and conditioned. So get ready, everybody. This is your mindset workout. One of the resolutions that a lot of people have, of course, for the new year is to get fit, to get healthy. And what about your mindset? It's so important to have a healthy mindset moving forward, creating transformation so that you can really live a purposeful and abundant life, and a life that feels authentic, a life that you love. Because just imagine what that would feel like every day. Because right now, I know there's a lot of people struggling, and you may be listening right now. And if you're listening to us and you're watching this, there's a reason that you're here. So listen to the words. Oftentimes you get inspiration through, words. It could be a song, it could be a book, it could be through words that you're listening to, like right now, that are going to transform your life. And I know in my own life, I have had a sentence from a stranger that completely changed my life. And so, there's always something to be learned if we are open. So I want you to be open to the possibility of creating your best life. And we're going to continue the conversation with my special guest today. Her name is Elena Donskaya. She is a transformation coach, and she's here to help us raise our vibration and tap into our inner power. Elena, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm so happy to have this conversation with you. I think it's so important for people to own their inner power. We often give our power up to others, or give our power up to something that we believe creates externally from outside of us. So what are some of the ways that we can raise our vibration and then also tap into that inner power?
Yeah, great question. I want to start just by sharing how I define the vibration. When everybody's saying we got to
Mm-hmm.
vibe high, what is the vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's culmination of everything we think about, everything we know ourselves to be, everything we wear, eat, surround ourselves with. It's culmination of it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to really understand that I think our biggest downfall for so many of us is really we don't know who we are.
Mm-hmm.
We really feel and know ourselves just from this limited perspective. And I do believe in higher power. I do believe that we exist in multiple realities and multiple dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
We're not just this physical being sitting here in the 3D world. We are multidimensional beings. And I think when you start having this identity shift, when you start realizing there's something more to you, you're not just having this body and this ego. You might have a soul, you may have a higher self, you may have something that you can really see with your eyes, but it's there. It's guiding your life. It's some people call it intuition, some
Mm-hmm.
people call it inner wisdom, you can sixth sense, you can name it under so many different things, right? But when you start tapping into that thing, That's what I believe your personal power really comes from, because this is something that nobody can really touch. Because when people, you mentioned, when people like trigger us, when people are really irritating us, or when something going on and we give our power away, is because we really don't know ourselves and we are constantly walking around being triggered. And it's important to, again, I don't want to be scaring anybody with a lot of deep healing work, but it's really to know yourself, is to start tapping into your subconscious, to really start
Mm-hmm.
looking into things that may be hidden from you. And yes, subconscious mind is like 95% of our mind, right? Like go consciously, we only like know the tip of the iceberg, like what's under that water, like what's under it. And when you start realizing that, well, wait a minute, like what are my values? What are my beliefs? What are my patterns? What are they all coming from? And you start layer by layer. Again, we don't have to make huge changes now with the new year, right? Because a lot of people set this unrealistic resolution goals. And we know, like statistically, I think 90% of all the resolutions fail because
Mm-hmm.
people set all these huge ideas and things they want to change in their lives. And they, day two, day three, or week one, week two into this, we get tired because the gap that exists between where we are now and where we want to be is so huge. And we feel like, oh my God, I cannot fulfill that. And we start self sabotaging ourselves. And again, giving our power away. So I always recommend to do baby steps. I always recommend doing affirmations, setting yourself up for a great day. And day by day, you start changing, you start gaining that power back by, again, understanding who you truly are. And then you'll know, okay, I am reacting to this person this way. I'm reacting to the situation this way. I don't like myself, how I am in my relationship, or how am I in my business. You start contemplating on different aspects of your life, and then you take a very honest look at like what doesn't work, and little by little you start changing your life. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how you gain your power back, with setting the goals and also fulfilling those goals and having that self-confidence. Because when you really do what you tell yourself you'll do, you gain that confidence and you gain that power for yourself. So
It's such a great feeling when you
yeah.
have accomplished something. And that's why it's important to reward yourself in those moments. Really, truly give yourself a pat on the back and say, job well done. Oftentimes it's difficult. Change can be so difficult for so many people. And when you do make those small changes, highlight that, honor yourself, and recognize that your willingness to move forward, and empowering yourself. And yes, there's so many times where we feel triggered by other people. But again, it's that egoic mind that sort of comes into play. And oftentimes, you want to look at the feeling underneath that trigger. So someone's pressed your buttons and you feel triggered, and it usually has nothing to do with that particular situation. It's the layers upon layers of decades of stuff that's buried underneath that we haven't truly processed. So if we can begin to be okay with those feelings and just allow them to pass, we can again start to make that shift and change. And that's why meditation is a phenomenal route in terms of being able to identify some of those feelings that are trapped sort of within the body, so to speak. I know that for my own life, I agree with you, Elena, that meditation has been such a transformative experience. I started to meditate, decades ago, and it truly changed my life. And then it just gave me an awareness of a lot of the things inside myself that were limiting me, including a slew of limiting beliefs. I had a ton of them, and that's why, again, I dedicate myself to helping to transform people and to help them to identify what their limiting beliefs are and their blocks, because oftentimes we are absolutely oblivious to our blocks, ourselves. But when other people can, pick them up, it's a reflection, of what's inside. And it's much easier for other people to witness that. So it's important to have a look inside and see, what is preventing us from living our best life, and to make the small change, and to recognize those moments that we have put ourselves out there. We had the willingness to change, and to honor that. And again, because when you start to reward yourself, we're creating dopamine in the brain, and when you have that dopamine, it's actually motivating motivating to get to the next level, of more change. So, but do start, because when you don't start, there's no end. You have to have that beginning. So I really encourage you all to start the transformation that feels right to you. And what is it? What does that look like? I mean, that could be that you want to change your job. If you have a job that you really don't like and you've been thinking about changing for a while, then maybe start that resume. A small step, refine that resume, have a look online at some job opportunities, but start somewhere. It could be that you just want to be more loving. You want to be more loving to the people around you. You want to have a relationship. You want to have better relationships. You want to get, fit and healthy. You want to change your financial situation. Whatever that is, start somewhere. Make a phone call to an expert. Call a friend who can help, with some advice. If you just even speak those words out loud, whether it's to somebody or to yourself, it's again setting the intention, putting it out there, and welcoming in the opportunity for change. So in terms of affirmations, I'd love to hear, Elena, how you used affirmations. Did you write them out? Did you speak them out loud?
I do use information. I love to write them down. I really love to do handwriting in my journal.
Mm-hmm.
They always have to be in a present tense. You have to, as you said, evoke the feeling, because it's all
Mm-hmm.
about the feeling. So you have to do it with the big intentions. You have to really, bring the feelings into it. Like for example, for anybody, and I think you mentioned like leaving your job. You don't want to just write, I want to leave my job, or um, you want to write something that evokes a feeling. I'm working somewhere where I feel satisfied, that I'm surrounded by people who get me, that I'm getting
Mm-hmm.
compensated for my work, and the energy exchange that I'm having with these people, so I can, impact other people, and also buy myself things that really make me happy, and I can give things to others. Like you want to say it in a very present tense and invoke the feelings of why you want to do it and what is the benefit for you and for others. And when you put an intention that you're doing something for you that benefits you and universe, your community, your family, someone else,
Humanity. Mm-hmm.
right, humanity, the intention behind it makes it be so grand. You right away set an intention that's like, oh my God, universe of course wants to support you in this. Why not?
Yes.
Because you're going to be feeling great about it, and you're impacting others by feeling good, and maybe also through monetary contributions. So why not? You're going to impact the world. So really put your affirmations in a present tense, evoke the feeling, put it with a great intention, and just feel good about yourself. And I love how you mentioned that it's so important to celebrate yourself of how far you've come,
Mm-hmm.
because talking about transformation, like we're always thinking about the future, what else I want to do in life, what else, like getting into this new year, what are the new resolutions, what do you want to change in life? But I always say start with releasing the old year, start with looking back, because it's never a clean slate. This is a compound energy. We change and we compound what we've already done in the past. So I don't ever want to dismiss that, because I'm sure a lot of you already done a lot of inner work, and you've been contemplating on things. You've been making changes. Nobody's really new to it, right? Like we all at different stages on our journey, but
Mm-hmm.
look back into prior year, maybe even month by month. The exercise I love doing is look through my phone. I take a lot of pictures and I
Mm-hmm.
look through my phone and see, oh, in January, I've been to this event, I've had this conversation, and maybe there are moments that are happy, and maybe there are moments that were challenging, but what is the lesson? Were you able to distill the lesson? What is the wisdom in it? I'm sure there was a meaning. Like I love giving meaning to everything in my
Mm-hmm.
life, good or bad. And when you look at things from that filter, from that perspective, that whatever happened to you, it's for your evolution, it's for your
Yep.
growth, it's for your understanding of yourself. All of it worth it, absolutely all of it. So looking back at prior year, um, celebrating yourself, releasing what no longer works, writing forgiveness letters. I'm big on that as well. Not necessarily forgiving others. More important is forgiving yourself, because you want
Mm-hmm.
to get that energy back for you, and step into the new year with like a fresh energy, and then start writing resolutions for this year. But definitely celebrate yourself, how far you've come, and you're already enough. We're all already enough, right? We all already did so much, and of course we can just evolve and desire more, and there's nothing wrong with that. So
Yeah, I love that. Oftentimes, that is what prevents us from actually seeing and celebrating our wins is that deep inner belief of I am not enough, which is certainly a falsehood. Anybody listening right now, you are enough. You are enough. I promise you, you are enough. And, when you can get on board with that, things will start to flow for you in a different way. And it's a belief that I struggled with for decades, the belief that I was unlovable, that I was not enough. And it really prevents a lot of, or creates a lot of blocks that prevents you from living your best life. So it's important to definitely acknowledge those wins. And one of the things that I did, Elena, as well, to your point of looking at, some of the good things that have happened for the year. I wrote in my journal, I put 2022, and I wrote out all the good things that happened. And I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to go into my phone and I'm going to look through my photos because I'm sure I'm missing a lot of those moments that could be on that list. But I also did a list for 2023 of all the great things that I'm going to bring into 2023 because I'm setting the intention. I'm setting the intention of what my life looks like and what my life feels like. And when you can get into that feeling, we can draw in that life that we want to create, the life that is truly of our own design. And I don't want you to think it's impossible to create a life that you love because you are unstoppable. You are a magnificent being born into a magnificent world and you have it within you. And it's just a matter of, again, of having that confidence, fostering self-love. And, if you don't have that self-confidence right now, it's probably because there is a lack of self-love. So start with really honoring and loving yourself. I know, Elena, for you, that has been part of your spiritual journey and your spiritual awakening is developing self-love. So I'd love for you to share some of the tips to create more self-love.
Yeah, self-love is such a big component of my life and of my work. And
Mm-hmm.
very often in the beginning, I think of my journey, I was confusing self-love with self-care.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think that self-love means, getting yourself, a nice pocketbook or going for a nice massage or love
Yeah, getting
yourself
your
certain.
nails done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'd say this is like self-care and this is a routine
Mm-hmm.
that everybody has to do no matter what. Self-love is more of understanding your inner being. And I think for me, it was a lot of work related to my inner child.
Mm.
Because when I really understood that I have this, you know, fragment of myself within me that maybe been neglected over the years and really get to know myself from that perspective and sitting with my inner child, reparenting myself, doing stuff that my inner child loved. So I was always like very creative girl. I love dancing. I love music. I love
Mm-hmm.
creatively expressing myself. And I kind of lost that during, my years working in a corporate finance, masculine world. And I think going back to those roots of what I really loved doing as a child really helped me to reestablish that connection with myself. Because whether we know it or not, our inner child is running our life. It does.
Mm-hmm.
Us adults, like that 8-year-old within us, is running our life.
Well, it's so true because we talked earlier about those triggers, right? So
Yeah,
it's not us as an adult acting reacting to those
yeah.
triggers. It's the 8-year-old or it's that young child within that's reacting. So I love that. It's so true.
Yeah. So doing a lot of inner child work really helped me realize, understand that what is that self that you have to
Mm-hmm.
fall in love with? Because what is the self? That's the main important question you got to answer. And understanding that you may have these different aspects of you, right? Your 5-year-old or your 13-year-old, your 17-year-old, and really bringing them together and sitting with those very delicate versions of yourself, innocent versions of yourself. That's what really helped me reestablish that self-love and spending time with me and my children played a big role in me understanding that because I started to think, okay, if I do certain things with my kids, how am I with my inner child in the same
Mm-hmm.
way, right? Like how am I neglecting my inner child? And doing the work, like inner child work, really helped me identify and feel that self-love for myself. So
Beautiful. And I think sometimes it's just a lesson to incorporate more playfulness
yeah,
into our
more
day.
joy. Yeah.
joy, playfulness, love, and just and allow ourselves to be that have that childlike innocence, because a lot of time the pressure of the world, can really weigh on us. And I'm sure, Elena, you can relate to those days of working on Wall Street, high intensity, high pressure, and it's easy to forget the self in that. But I love that you were able to recognize, well, hold on a second, there is something more, there is something greater than this moment. And I think that if we can all get very present to the moment is when we can get the clarity that is lacking in our lives, just by simply coming direct to the moment, whether that is sitting in meditation or just sitting in a couple of minutes of silence, just being with yourself, shutting out the chaos and the mind chatter and the clutter from the outside external environment can really be a game changer in how you're going to live your life moving forward. So it really, again, is that clarity that we need to move forward. And a new year is a great opportunity to clarify what it is that we would like to bring in, but also to start to let go of the things that are no longer serving us. We can become addicted to some of those things that don't serve us, and we know oftentimes that it's not good and it doesn't foster our well-being. But unless we're ready to make that change, we hold on sometimes for dear life. And that's why I just love the symbolism of a new year, where we can really sort of take stock and look at what does no longer serve us, what do we want to create, and have the courage to go for it. And you have that power within. And so I think it's really, really key to start right now. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to help you continue to create your best life for 2023 with my special guest, Elena Donskaya. She's a transformation coach, and she helps to bridge the gap between spirituality and personal development. And we will continue more of this conversation when we come back here on Sauga 960. Well, hello, hello, and welcome back to the Mindset Mentor. I'm your host, Tania Kolar, helping you to live your best life. Well, we are headed right into a brand new year, and it's exciting. Well, I certainly hope you're excited about it, because I am excited for you. This is your opportunity to really start to set the intention of creating a life that you love. My special guest today is Elena Donskaya. She is a transformation coach, and she has bridge the gap between spirituality and personal development. And the two are linked so closely together, by the way. And it's incredible to see that transformation of what we can create when we really start to set that intention of creating our best life. So, Elena, let's continue the conversation. It's so great to have you here. And it's an exciting time. And, I think the world is now ready. We've collectively gone through, crises, so to speak, with a global pandemic and all of the challenges that come along with that. So it's a great time to recalibrate, to reset, and to move forward in an empowering way. I know for you as well, Elena, you've had your own personal crises and challenges and transformation, and you were really able to create that spiritual awakening for yourself, which you now help to teach other people. And I'd love to really get a little more specific into some of the techniques that you use to really help people to unravel some of their limiting beliefs and, the trauma that gets trapped and stored in the body. So what does that look like when you help clients, and also your own personal experience?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you that a lot of things that when we start doing the mindset work, when we step into the path of spirituality, it's really important to recognize that a lot of these things, a lot of stuck emotions, a lot of that trauma that sits within our body. So I do a lot of embodiment work. Whether I work with people one-on-one or I run retreats, actually run retreats in New York, in Tulum, Mexico, and I love bringing women together and really share with them how important it is to know yourself, to know your body. And I love techniques like breath work, dancing, tapping, shaking, anything that can move energy through your body. It's quite important. And also, I love the spiritual technology of gene keys. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's similar to human design, that you can, based on your birthday, identify what could be your shadows, what could be your triggers, and you can contemplate on your specific energetics, on your specific codes, and identify, well, what it could be that's been blocking me in realizing my gifts, in sharing my gifts with others. So there's so many tools that are available out there, and I love to synthesize this for myself. I also, a few years ago, got certified in spiritual psychology, and that brought a very different perspective into my, toolbox. And using that with my clients, using that for myself, it all comes down to knowing your body, understanding who you really are, doing a lot of forgiveness work, doing a lot of reprogramming of your subconscious, of your body. And it doesn't have to be that complicated or that difficult. It could be fun. It could be interesting. It could be really something that you do along with people. Because as you said, with so many of us right now stepping into doing the healing work, understanding like, okay, what's going on with the pandemic? What's going on with the world, with the economy? What is the world really showing us? Because we can't change the world unless we change ourselves. And this is the process. It's from the inside out. It's not top down. So that's what I would encourage for anybody, to start with yourself. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And you spoke of forgiveness, and I think that one of the toughest people to forgive, is certainly ourselves. But it's such a beautiful journey when we can start to really, let go of that. We've all done things in life that we wish we could have done better. And we need to just let go of that and stop the guilt and the blame, which creates so much resistance and blocks in our lives. And also that forgiveness for other people is also really key. Now, I think there's a really big misnomer when it comes to forgiveness, because oftentimes people feel that, and myself included at one time, that if you forgive somebody, then it makes that situation okay. And it actually has nothing to do with that. It is really, forgiveness is all about yourself. You no longer want to be controlled by that situation, and you want to allow yourself the opportunity to feel better. So that forgiveness is truly key and can make a huge difference in your life and how you feel. And also, let's keep in mind that, some of our emotional trauma creates physical dis-ease in the body. And when we can start to, have that forgiveness, you'll find sometimes that you're shifting things, truly physically in the body. And you're going to start to release some of that tension. It could be a back pain that you've had a long time. And you can now sometimes start to actually associate the pain with an emotional feeling. And, that's something that I do with clients as well, is to, do a scan of the body and where you're feeling that dis-ease, and then to sit with that, to be okay with feeling that and to see what's underneath, because I promise you there's something underneath that emotionally that is linked to that pain. And it's like the onion layers, right? As we peel back each layer, we're going to start to, unravel little pieces, and we can actually get to the root cause that of the emotional turmoil that is keeping us stuck. And is that something, Elena, for you, that you have found any sort of correlation?
Oh yeah, of course. I've done a lot of body work, like even working with acupuncture or chiropractor, or doing, or even massages. Sometimes I feel that when somebody's working on me, I'm doing body work,
Yeah.
sort of emotions come up as I'm laying on a table. Certain emotions come up. I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, why am I all of a sudden feeling sadness? Why am I all of a sudden feeling anger? So definitely, I 100% agree with you that stuck emotions are stored in the body, and there's so many different ways you can release them. Again, through the help of some practitioners that can do acupuncture, chiropractor work, massages, maybe through breath work. Our breath, this is like, we own that. Like we can work through ourselves through our own breath. There's so many breath work techniques that you can do. You can, find them on YouTube. There's so many apps. There's just so many tools available to do this work. Tapping, and very simple, just talking about forgiveness, writing forgiveness letters. Like my life lately been built on ashes of forgiveness letters, because I write them and I burn them. And you don't ever, even if you want to write it to someone, and again, I agree with you, the forgiveness work is not really about forgiving others. It's about forgiving yourself being in that situation, right? So when you write, but even if you decide to write a forgiveness letter to someone, don't ever send this to them.
Yeah.
Burn
Yeah.
it, and I burn my letters, and I make it like a sacred ceremony of sorts, right?
Mm,
I can have
mm.
my crystals, I can have my candles, I write it. You write it for at least 10 minutes or up to 2 hours, and just let your subconscious, especially when you write it with your hand, there is some science to it, right? When you just clearing out your subconscious mind into a piece of paper, and sometimes you write things like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I was still feeling that towards this person, for example, or I didn't realize that I was feeling that towards my mom. You start writing and things can come through, and then you just release it. And maybe that at the end you sit in a bathtub with salt, and maybe you shed some tears or hit some pillows or whatever you need to do, right? But releasing that out of sight of your body, out of sight of your mind, really does wonders, really does.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you. It's such a game changer. And I'm so excited for all the listeners out there to start releasing that forgiveness and start bringing in and welcoming in a brand new, better year. And unfortunately, we're out of time. So, Elena, I'd love for you to let the listeners know how to find you.
Yeah, so my either my Instagram or my website, my brand name is Elena Visionary. So it's at Elena Visionary on Instagram or elenavisionary.com on my website. And all the work, all the services and testimonials of my work are there, whether you want to reach out to me and work privately or go on a retreat with me or join my community and my monthly membership. Everything is out there for you to find. And I would love to connect with anybody who's listening to this, anybody who's feeling my vibe and just want to get to know me better. So
I love it. Thank you so much, Elena. I've really enjoyed our conversation, our time together. And thank you so much. And wishing you an extraordinary year ahead and bringing in all that goodness. And again, that's a wrap for today's Mindset Mentor. So I'm so happy that you are tuning in and that you're either listening to this video or radio show or watching the video, which you can watch on my YouTube channel at Tania Kolar, because there's a message here for you. If you're hearing these words right now, if you heard my special guest, Elena Donskaya, share some wisdom, that wisdom was for you. So stay tuned. We have more coming up here on Sauga 960.